AM 1220, KHTS, your hometown station. I am T, normally with you during your drive time afternoons, 3 to 7. Today, I have the good fortune to speak to one of the emergency room physicians over at Providence Holy Cross for the Providence Holy Cross Hour, Dr. Jan Carlos de Massa. First of all, thank you again for taking time out of your very, very busy day after hearing what you do, where you go, who you are. I am very grateful that you've taken the hour to be with us. We're talking about the emergency room care and the fact, I want to highlight again, that Providence Holy Cross is one of the few trauma centers. There are 9 in LA County. One of the few trauma centers caring for patients in the San Fernando and Santa Clarita Valleys, and we're very grateful to Providence Holy Cross for that because we have a lot of highways and byways and surface streets, and since that is a very large portion of what you see in your trauma center, I'm so grateful that you are there. I'm curious from your perspective. We've talked a little bit about Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. We've talked about how texting and drunk driving has increased, and you've seen larger numbers in the emergency room and trauma center. How do you see things changing in the future for emergency room care? For example, space at Holy Cross or expansion or programs to care. What do you see as changing in the future?
Well, certainly our volumes are only going up, and they're going to continue to go up for a long time. If there's one part of medicine I think that will always be there, it's emergency room care, because people have accidents, people get sick at any time. We're going to hit 100,000 patients this year, which is just a huge number.
Wow.
It makes us one of the largest ERs, if not the largest private ERs in the county. I think Antelope Valley has similar numbers too, and that number is just going to keep going up. So we really have been talking with administration and working with administration about how we're going to meet that increased capacity, both in the upcoming winter and in the years to come.
Winter's worse, isn't it?
Winters are always worse.
Inclement weather and...
Yeah, cough, cold, flu is really what pushes it up. It's the flu.
It's the flu.
A lot of it is,
Is this the part where you're going to look me in the eye and ask me if I had my flu shot?
I was thinking about it. I might just make a plea to everyone out there.
So you feel that's really critically important?
I do. I really do.
I always feel like the guy behind the counter at the pharmacy is just like killing time. Hey, you get your flu shot. He really means it.
He does. Helpful. Yeah. And, it's not always perfect because they're guessing on what they think the flu is going to be.
But better to be
to be safe. And part of it is just I'm around every single cough and cold, but I really haven't had an illness in quite a few years since getting the flu shot, and I'm a big believer. I
did not. but again, I always think it's because the pharmacist is just passing time waiting for my prescription to be done. Hey, so have you had your flu shot? Hey, it's an actual thing. But I see the importance of it, I must say, as I get older. I know that it's the flu affects if you've been respiratory compromised and for the very young, but it's something we should all have. It's sort of like knowing there's going to be a storm. It's better going in with a raincoat and an umbrella and maybe not needing the umbrella.
Correct.
So it makes a lot of sense. So if wishes were pigs and you were in charge as the associate medical director over there, what would be the first thing? The first thing you see for the ER at Providence?
We just need space. We just need space. We need rooms to see the patients. And that's tough because any remodel inside of a hospital is both incredibly expensive and you're taking up someone else's real estate who is there. So we're just hoping to figure out a way to get some more rooms in the
I just remodeled a closet. I can tell you that was expensive and took time. Where may I ask? Where does the money come from?
It comes from very generous people who help our foundation.
Who are listening.
Yeah, it comes from the money that we get at the hospital, and then they make difficult choices with the income that the hospital makes for admitted patients and ER patients. And that's really where it comes. And it comes from Providence as a whole. Providence Holy Cross is owned by Providence, which has many hospitals throughout the West Coast. And
so every square foot is going to make a difference for the patients that you see. And we just talked about how volume is up for a number of reasons. And here comes flu season, here comes the winter,
Right.
here comes the people who, might not be able to see their physician for a month, so they'll come to the ER. The numbers are going to go up. There's no denying that that's the future of emergency room care.
Yes.
And so expansion is key.
Yeah, and the hospital's talking about it. I mean, you talked about your closet remodel. There was a broken pipe in a bathroom, and they're going to have to do a bathroom remodel, and that alone is going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars for the hospital. It's really expensive to do medical remodels. So the hospital has been incredibly responsive, but the process is slow, and so they are planning. But even with good long-term planning, to build a larger emergency department takes minimum of 5 years.
A minimum of 5 years. That's incredible. That's incredible. Again, we've been talking with Dr. de Massa here, who's from the Providence Holy Cross Emergency Room and the Trauma Center over there. I'm so grateful again that you took the time to be with us today, and we look forward to hearing more about Providence Holy Cross in the weeks to come. Thank you.
Thank you, T.
AM 1220 KHTS, your hometown station. We're here with the Providence Holy Cross Hour. I'm here today speaking to Dr. Jan Carlos de Massa, who's over at Providence Holy Cross in the ER and the Trauma Center, and we've been talking about really the future of emergency room care and how the numbers keep going up. It's not like the patients, you're not going to have the patients. You're definitely going to have the patients, partly due to increases in driving incidents, cold and flu season. And we were talking about the expansion and the need for more space at Holy Cross, and what a wonderful gift that would be to the community. Again, because Providence Holy Cross is one of the few trauma centers caring for patients in the San Fernando and Santa Clarita Valley. I want to tell you again, approximately 9 of them in Los Angeles County, and we have one of them right here serving the San Fernando and Santa Clarita Valleys. Now, we've talked about expansion being important, and with expansion down the road will come staff. And if you had to talk to the young person listening now, maybe with the concept of what do you want to be when you grow up, and the idea that they might have some of those key components in their personality that would make them right for a career in the medical field, what would you say, what do you think are some of the things you would look for at some point? Like if you were talking to earlier you, and you looked in the mirror and said, well, I liked science or caring for people. What are the qualities you'd be looking for? And then what could a young person do today to prepare themselves for that path into a career in medicine? Yeah,
so there is going to be a big increase in need for both nurses and doctors over the next few years. I think really the thing that you have to have is a passion for learning. You need to want to learn, and you need to be able to read large amounts and enjoy that. Because there's nothing worse than getting into a job that you don't want to do. And in medicine, you do have to read. You do have to stay on top of your education because things are changing constantly. Even in emergency
technology,
medicine,
everything about us as human beings, things are evolving and changing, and germs are, learning new pathways, and by golly, we got to outfox them.
And new medicines are getting designed all the time that you have to learn, and you have to put that into the context of the things that you already know. So your learning never stops, and you have to enjoy that process. I don't think you necessarily have to, be a science whiz in high school, even in college, to go to medical school or to nursing school. I came at it in a completely different way and was an English major in undergrad. But the one thing I will say that I see trip people up is you do have to complete that college or that first step after high school. You have to complete that next step rather than letting it go on for years and years. The people that I see that get into trouble are people that leave college, come back later, try and finish it later. It gets increasingly hard to finish that college step if you take a lot of time to do it. And
get on the path and stay on the path.
Yeah, so if you just get on the path, you're going to have your free time at some point. But if you can at least finish that undergrad, you will be in a much, much better space to go to medical school and to nursing school. And then, we have required science classes that you do have to take that are part of the process. And they are a little bit of a necessary evil, at least that's how I felt. I mean, you never use your organic chemistry again, but it was the hardest class I ever took.
And you needed needed it.
Yeah, I needed it. Now you needed to at least go through the process of getting tested like that and to
Right.
learn those specific pathways.
Right.
And that's part of the process to kind of get you to the ends. So, but more important than that is just that you love to learn and you love learning more about what you do. That's the kind of passion that we need to have in the medical field.
Now, is there anything that you think wiring-wise is critically important for ER?
Absolutely. You have to have ADD. You have to. There's no way you
It's a
can do my
gift.
job. I get interrupted every 20 seconds, and
Yeah.
you have to be okay with that.
You have to be
and
okay with that.
that's really hard. So,
And there are a lot of personalities that aren't.
Right.
They need that time. They need that focus. They need that. But the idea that you can step away from something and then come right back to it,
Absolutely.
it's a gift.
And your brain has to then be able to kind of reprocess and recategorize constantly. So I told you earlier, my wife is a psychiatrist. She could not last, a minute in my job. And to be completely fair, I could not last a minute in her job either.
Right.
So, I mean, you need to have that ADD, and that means eating on the run and not having a bathroom break for 2 hours.
And being okay with it.
And totally being okay
Right.
with it. And also, you have to be flexible in ER, and sometimes nothing is easy in a day, and
Right.
there's all sorts of problems. But that's what I enjoy, and that's why I went into emergency medicine. The cool thing about medicine is that there's so many different types of medicine, and I didn't really realize that when I started this process.
But they give you that opportunity in the educational process for you to figure
do.
that out.
They do. So I mean,
Where
there's-
you fit, what
Absolutely.
works for you.
Yeah. And it runs the entire gambit in healthcare, and that's kind of a cool thing. You're not completely, cordoning yourself off the day you get into medical school. There's still a lot of different opportunities.
Okay, now I got to ask you a totally dumb question. What's your favorite meal on the run?
My favorite meal on the run. Oh my gosh, we have the best. I'm going to brag on Providence Holy Cross
Yeah.
cafeteria. The best hospital cafeteria I have ever been at, and I've gained about 20 pounds since I've been at Providence
That's a
Holy Cross.
testimony to some good cooking.
I'm trying to work it off. The list is crazy. They have Korean beef bowl is amazing.
Yeah,
They make a
okay.
They also have sushi Mondays, which when you're working on sushi Mondays and the sushi stuff is there, you're like,
Oh,
it's
yay.
a party.
It's a yay.
So I can't go wrong with the food.
So good for the ER staff and also for the patients that are coming to Providence Holy
The
Cross
families
and the
enjoy
families.
it. Yeah,
I was
the
going to
families
say.
are the ones that enjoy it.
Providence Holy Cross has a lot of wonderful things. We've been talking today on the Providence Holy Cross Hour with Dr. Jan Carlos de Massa, who again works over at the ER and the Trauma Center. And I cannot say thank you enough for taking time out of your day to come and talk to us about the emergency room at Providence Holy Cross and one of the few trauma centers caring for patients in San Fernando and Santa Clarita Valleys. So grateful to know that you guys are there, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a real pleasure.